I'm Shannon Moore, and this is Formation. Today we'll have a conversation with someone who talks about family, church, and hymns. Join us. Welcome to Formation, a weekly podcast from University Christian Church in Fort Worth, Texas, where each week I sit down with people and we talk about faith. Today I have with me Stephanie Spradley. She's a member here at University Christian Church. And Stephanie, I've been trying to get you on this podcast for a while.
We have tried, Shannon.
We have. We sort of every Sunday do this
We rendezvous
with each
pass
other. Yeah, pass each other, circle each other.
Exactly.
See each other a lot as we're each going about our
Right.
myriad tasks that we do on Sunday morning. We're going to get to that a little bit later. But thank you for finally making this happen.
I'm glad it happened. I'm happy. I'm happy anytime to come to my church, to our church. So thank you for thinking that this would work out. So it has. And thanks, Shannon.
Well, thank
really,
you.
truly.
Well, I always start with childhood faith. Can you tell me, or lack thereof, what was your religious upbringing like, if any?
I tell you, if anybody was blessed, I was blessed. I had a single mother, a younger brother. My mother was a career woman, had to work, and her dearest friend became a godmother of sorts. So I would join their family on school mornings. Mother would drop me at their home. And
This was a school friend?
this was a school,
Okay.
well, this was my mother's friend.
Okay.
And so she and her family would take me in on work days. A dear friend of my mother's. She had an adopted daughter. We became sisters of sorts. And we would walk across the street to school, walk back home, have grape juice till my mother got off work. Mary was an angel in my life and attended a small Baptist church. And so Mother said, "You're going to church." I was ready. I was eager. I might have been a bit dorky, but I loved my small Baptist church.
Did your mother go too, or you went with this
She
family?
did not. She was overworked,
Okay.
underpaid, did laundry, house clean.
On Sunday.
But I had perfect attendance pins for at least 5 years that I remember.
I got to tell you, I grew up Baptist too.
You
And
know.
those perfect attendance
They meant
pins,
something.
They did. My cousin, they used to make fun of me when I would spend the week with them because I had to go to church
Shame on
so
them.
that I could tell my Sunday school teacher that I had been to Sunday school, so I didn't miss my
There you
my
go.
day.
And we were in church, maybe not my mother, maybe not my little brother, but my other family, Sunday morning,
Yes.
Sunday evening, Wednesday prayer meeting, and Thursday was GA's, Girls Auxiliary.
Okay.
I wouldn't have missed any of those. They were a part of my life. I think they were, well, definitely an anchor, a stabilization, if you will. I had a great mother, sacrificed everything, but she was faithful in getting me to church and faithful on her own. So
That's beautiful.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
So how long did you go there? Like, how long did that relationship last with that family, that church?
Well, until Mary passed away a few years ago. I've kept in touch. Both she, Wesley, her husband, and the adopted daughter are all deceased. But what they did in my life will live on until I see them again. They're amazing. I give thanks for a church I found, which was Disciple of Christ, after Mary and Wesley and them left town for a bit. And so
Where was this?
this was in Midland, Texas.
Midland, okay.
And so we went to, we joined, you would ask, a Christian church, Disciples of Christ Church there. How would I forget? I'll think of it.
Okay.
But until 18, I knew at 18 I was out of Midland. It was not what I needed.
Okay.
And so I paid some time at a university close to Midland, Texas, until I could get to another school in a prettier part of the state. Do you love how this is being worded?
I do.
And I graduated there, and
What color?
well, it was rather orange, but burnt orange.
Oh, okay.
But
we won't say.
I am a fan. I will tell you, once I got to Fort Worth, my husband and I, we dated while he was in school, and I knew if we were getting married, it was going to be living in Fort Worth, going to every TCU game. Don't talk about where you went to school. We only have one other shameful person in the family, and she was from A&M. So at Christmas, our ornaments are, at back of trees
Right,
and things
yeah.
like that. But
They're
it's
there.
okay. They're there, but
Kinda.
they're wonderful.
Well, that's great.
Anyway.
Now, you're purple all the way.
Yes, I am. I really am, because I was an upperclassman when I transferred to UT. So I had journalism labs, and I didn't have time to fritter fratter. And so I sang in the TV choir at another Baptist church in Austin. Dork. But I loved that church. I loved that choir. I loved the college department was fabulous because the school was so big. And so between the Baptists, the Bible Church, and the Disciples of Christ, I have loved, grown, prospered, been seen, heard, prayed over in wonderful churches. I just can't imagine not growing up that way, not having that.
Same.
Don't you think that helped you be
Absolutely.
who you are?
I tell people all the time, when you have a strong church family, there is a sense of security.
Absolutely.
You just know that if stuff goes down, somebody's got your back.
Always.
Somebody's going to be there to help you. And I've always felt that way.
Always. And to smile at you on Sunday morning, hug, give a hug. But when did you convert from the Baptist church, Shannon? How in the world?
Well, now, are you interviewing me?
Well,
or
it works that way sometimes.
It does, Russ just did a interview with me a few weeks ago. So that'll be on the podcast too.
I can't wait.
But I will say, I grew up Baptist, and my stayed that way until I was about a sophomore, junior in college, and I got a job playing piano at a Disciples church.
There you go.
That was it.
You're
And
talented.
so that was my introduction, and
Conversion, if you will.
and my conversion.
There you go. But we had good, biblical, sound Bible rearing in that Baptist
I'm telling you, me too. There's a good foundation. I don't agree with all the
Not
Baptist
the political
theology
part
and
of it now. Exactly.
However, that was a really good foundation.
It was for me.
And we're going to talk about this later too. I want to specifically want to wait until the second half, but hymns, we're going to talk about that in the second half.
We promise not to sing.
I can't promise that.
We might get the Spirit.
So, how did you get to University Christian?
By God's grace, when I came to Fort Worth, dated my husband, married, started a practice with Fred, helped him in the office, but started a family right after that, about 4 years after his practice opened. And we found a church, a huge Bible church, where the girls went to Sunday school, they were baptized, they were brought up much in the fashion that my husband and I were brought up. And interestingly enough, they go off to boarding high school and college, and during boarding high school, they would come home and want to go to church. We would want them to go to church. The first rock band in the sanctuary Sunday. Up they come, especially the youngest one. I don't know about bands in the sanctuary.
You raised some traditional children.
Well, they went to high Episcopalian
Yeah.
boarding schools. But that to say, they wanted a more liturgical,
Okay.
organized, beautiful, speak to me service. And we visited tons of churches with them. Finally, they made the decision, helped us make the decision, that University Christian was going to be our new church home. And I think they were pretty smart. And we have enjoyed it and gratefully been served by the church. Again, we feel welcome here.
And you're also very welcoming, and we're going to talk about that too.
Good.
And but first, we're going to take a little break, and we will be back to continue this conversation with Stephanie Spradley.
I'm Rhonda Stevens.
And I'm Joe Stevens, and we're in charge of the refreshments for the 10:10 and 11 o'clock service.
We've been doing that for about a couple of years now. Because
About 3 years.
About 3 years. We've been members here for that long.
And it just started and it
It morphed.
continue to grow, and it's just our mission.
It's our ministry to UCC.
Well, we are back and continuing this conversation with Stephanie Spradley. So I mentioned at the top of the podcast that you and I sort of circle around each other on Sundays, and just before we took the break, I mentioned your welcoming spirit. So tell us a little bit about what it is, one of the things you do on Sunday mornings.
I get here early, and I get here a little earlier each time. And Fred, my husband, why are we going so early? Well, my role as a greeter, I used to greet in the older church building near Walker Hall as the people would come in for the 10:10. People would be leaving the earlier services, coming to the 10:10, greeting, meeting, helping Lee Nelson, our membership director, who is off working for school things right now. We're very proud for him. But Lee and Stacy and I would help find the visitors, look for the people, make them feel welcome. And I didn't have to study for that role. I didn't have to be trained. I didn't probably do the best job, but it clicked with me. And I enjoyed finding the people that used to be us at a strange church. And what do you want? Do you want somebody that passes by you or says, are you looking for, can I help you? And so they come to that desk, and we're new here. This is our first time. Can you tell me? And those are the greatest words you'll hear. Now it's in the narthex, the front doors of the sanctuary, and what a more welcoming place to be. So I greet before the 10:10, and then get ready, and I get to enjoy, along with everybody else, I'm the 11:15 person. My husband would love to be here at 7:30 in the morning if there were church at 7:30 in the morning.
There's not a clergy person who wants to lead a
don't want to do
7:30
that.
a.m. service.
And they don't deserve that. But we have 4 services, Shannon, and they all have something for everyone. And so people gravitate to the service they want and enjoy. And I just have loved everything I have done for UCC has not been volunteer work. I've over-volunteered in the years past, got burned out and said I'm never volunteering, and I'm never chairing anything again. And I've changed my tune.
Well, and I think the language that we use too, volunteer sort of has an obligation connotation to it,
Right.
whereas service has a different feel. And
Where
it sounds,
you want to be there.
right.
Yeah.
You're serving God, you're serving the church, you're serving the congregation and the guests who are
Right.
coming here. And one of the great things about somebody who's been around, a church long term, like you have, especially in the greeting role, is you know who you don't know.
Exactly.
You sort of get that eagle eye up. That's a person
You
I've not
see
seen
somebody
before.
looking for something, looking for a room, a restroom. When does this group meet? Where do they meet? And right now it's interesting with the building influx and renovation, we're as lost as everybody else. But back to that service, we serve the church, but who gets served more, Shannon? I think it's selfish on my part.
I do
because
too.
I get. You do it as well, and you get paid, and you're good at it.
Well,
Our ministerial staff,
it's a good group. It's a great group.
it's a fabulous group of fun people who know so much and don't act like it until they get in the pulpit. That's when you want it. But this is a family church, and it's a belonging church, and you know as well as I do, it's warm.
Yes.
And it's heating up every time.
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
Sunday.
I had a conversation with someone earlier this morning, and I was telling them about how much warmer the church just seems to be growing all the time.
Absolutely. Even though it's getting bigger, it's growing smaller in the warmth, hospitality, and welcoming spirit.
And thank you for all that you do on that front.
Well, it's a treat for me.
Well, as promised, we're getting near the end of our time, but I want to talk about hymns.
Amen.
Now, you tell me, did you have a favorite hymn as a child?
This is Sophie's choice. I cannot
know.
choose, but
I know.
growing up, besides the ones we learned in, preschool,
Right, the little choruses
Nursery,
and that sort of thing.
which I still sing today.
Yes.
He keeps me singing. What a friend. All the old standards in the garden. Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
They are a language that we speak sometimes when we just break into tune. You know, let's see now.
Well,
I do have favorites, and I love all of them.
it's hard to pick, like you said, it's hard to pick favorites.
and remember them all.
One of the most special hymns to me is When We All Get to Heaven.
Absolutely.
It's just a great hymn to begin with, but it was one of 2 songs my mother could play on the piano.
That'll limit you right there.
And I loved to hear her play that. And so we sang it a lot. And when I finally learned how to play it myself, I just thought, I've made it now. I can do anything now.
That rings a bell because I worked up with my amateur piano skills. The song, and I'm going to get to the title because I'm not starting humming it where you finish the words.
You can hum.
Da, 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 da. Come thou long awaited
Jesus. Uh-huh.
I thought it was a beautiful song before I knew it was a hymn. And so I worked it up and thought, I know I've heard this somewhere. At the beauty shop of all places, I hummed it to the ever faithful, knowledgeable Robin Davis.
Oh.
That is come thou long. I said, whatever. But it's a favorite.
Yes.
And because I can play it on the piano in a 3rd grade, 2nd grade form. But for me, when Fred leaves the house, I sit down and I sound so good.
You're Van Cliburn.
In a hymn form.
In hymn form.
Yeah.
Also, Victory in Jesus.
Yes.
And when I was...
Now that's an old Baptist.
Yes.
Oh, yes, sir.
And when I was serving that little Christian church in North Carolina before I moved here, our denomination's hymnal, the Chalice hymnal, came out. It was 1995, 96, somewhere
Was
around
it
there.
Chalice or Broadman?
Well, this was the Disciples' Church.
Oh, this was already
This was the Disciples'
I
Church.
got you, sorry.
But when that new hymnal came out, 95, 96, somewhere around there, we almost didn't buy that hymnal because it didn't have Victory in Jesus in it.
That would have been
It was a big discussion.
big
It
mistake.
was a big discussion.
So could you have added it in a paste form?
Well, I suggested that. We never did end up doing that. But that was how I got them to buy it. I said, we can always, use an old hymnal or
Sure.
stick it in the bulletin or
Or just
something.
leave it in the pews for a certain Sunday?
But that just shows you how
The power.
important the
Yes, sir.
power
Yes,
of
sir.
a hymn to people.
Yep.
And it speaks to people in ways that other music doesn't.
not.
Right.
I think it's universal for hymns. If they haven't heard it or grew up with it, they know it's good music.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever love the rollicking tenors and basses, and when they would come in on their parts, and you'd just stop because it was so good. We do those occasionally. Do you love the hymns when you look out in the congregation, like you said one Sunday, when you know the hymn, you hear the hymnal snap at the last chorus,
You don't need it.
and we are getting it done.
You're just singing it from the
I
heart.
just love that.
That's my favorite thing,
Yes,
too.
sir.
Well, thank you so much for coming, and this time just flew by.
Well, Shannon, it just was not as bad as you said. Thank you, seriously, for the
Yes.
time. You don't have to do this, but I love watching other people and hearing about their faith formation. So
I do too.
kudos for doing that.
Well, thank you, and thank you for sharing yours, and thank you for listening. If you'd like to share your faith story, I hope that you will email me, formation@uccftw.com. You can come to my office and sit right on the red couch and have your own episode. So think about that. Take care of yourself. We'll see you next time.